Good afternoon on this Saturday afternoon. Welcome. My name's Amy McDonald. I run this joint. How many of you have been to one of our concerts, weekend concerts? They're lovely. This is the last of what we're calling Sound on Global, which is featuring these ensembles with music from around the world. You are in for such a treat this afternoon. The rehearsal was so beautiful. Palaver Strings presents music which incorporates jazz, classical, and Syrian folk tales. And afterwards, we'll be serving coffee and cookies out in the lobby, and the musicians will be out so you can meet them all. The performance is approximately an hour and 20 minutes, a little bit longer than our usual hour, but you're going to love every minute of it. We have 14 musicians about to come up on the stage. Welcome.
I had to travel for that one. Okay, I'm back. Hi, everyone. I'm going to let everyone get settled. We did start right on time, so I'll give you a moment to find your seats, take off your coats, take off your jackets. My name is Brianna Fischler. I am a violist in Palaver Strings, and I am going to go around and give everyone's names. You won't be expected to remember them all, but there was a request, so we're going to do it. Brianna, this is Lysander next to me. Behind me is, should I do last names too? Nah, let's just do first names. That's too much, right? Okay. Lysander next to me. Okay. Lizzie behind me, or Elizabeth. Nate on the bass. Nate number 1, we'll call him. All right. And then we have Cameron on cello. We have Matt on cello. We have Nate number 2 on cello. And then we have Maya on violin. Behind Maya, we have Abby. Next to Abby, we have Josie. Next to Josie, we have Che. And in front of Che, we have Dominic. Got it? Great. We are Palaver Strings. We're a nonprofit, musician-led string ensemble based in Portland, Maine, although, as you heard already, we did get our start right across the street at BU. A lot of us got our first degrees there. Some of us got degrees elsewhere, all over the place, but it's quite interesting to be back. So thank you, Boston, for having us. This title is, good. We got like 3 or 4 hours of sleep last night, so we're gonna try our hardest to bring the energy level up. But excuse me if I mix up my words. The title of this program is Elements. The lovely thing about elements is that there are so many different definitions, and I think that they are all applicable to this program, and you can sort of think on that theme on your own and decide how it applies for you. I just wanted to bring your attention to one definition of elements, which is the fact that an element is a single entity of a bigger whole, and that describes Palaver pretty easily. So anyway, a few years ago, we played at the Green Door Festival up in Mid-Coast, Maine. We go there all the time, every summer actually, and we're always surrounded by ridiculously amazing musicians, and it's always inspiring. And this year in particular, we met Brian and Kinan, and we played with them. See, I told you it would happen. We played with them for a few minutes only, and it wasn't enough for us. We said we have to work with them again. They are, I use the word inspiring, but it's not close to enough. And I'm just gonna let you witness it for yourself. And we're gonna keep going with the program. So I'd love to welcome on stage clarinetist Kinan Azmeh.
Hello. Hello. Hi. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for being here. It's great to be back in Boston. I lived here for 1 year, 23 years ago. So I've been back since then, but it always feels special to be back. I'm incredibly honored to be collaborating with this wonderful group of individuals. Thank you very much, Palaver, for having me. Yeah. I'm just going to talk back, actually, about the piece you just heard. The piece is titled In the Element, and it was written in 2 sections. I wrote the piece back in, I think, 2018. 2017 were the first 2 movements, followed by a 3rd movement in 2018. The title came from an event. The first time, actually, I came to the US was in '92. I went for a summer chamber music camp called the Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music up in New Hampshire. And we had a few days of a stop in Boston before we went there. Anyway, and it was the place that changed my life. It was up there where I decided to become a professional musician. And since then, they invite me back as faculty to go and teach and to try to inspire younger minds. And this is maybe about 4 years ago. I was at Apple Hill. And I went for a run. And I was caught in a rainstorm. And I love the rain. Rainy weather is my favorite. So I continued running. And I went back to the camp. And I sat on one of the benches outside. And I looked up to the skies. And I was incredibly enjoying the moment. And somebody from the camp who's being in one of the rooms, looked out, took a photo of me. And she said, "This is one person in his element." And I was trying to process what she meant. And I feel at home in a variety of situations. Being in nature and being in touch, and rain as a representation of nature, for me is very, very meaningful. And so the piece was originally written as 2 movements, run followed by rain. And then 2018 happened, and I went home to Damascus, where I'm from, for the first time after 6 years of not going there. And the feeling I had when I arrived to Damascus, to my parents' place, I felt grounded. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. It just felt grounding to be back home. And I felt this piece needs to have some kind of a counterpart that happens on the other side of the Atlantic. So the last movement is grounded. So all of this, talking about the connection between homes elsewhere and homes back home, this next piece we're going to play is about that. Palaver beautifully asked me to write a piece for them. And I wanted to write a piece that will explore home also. So I wanted to work on Syrian folk tunes. And the title of the piece is Syrian Dances, and it's in 4 separate movements. I was inspired, the model of that writing is inspired by what Bartok did with his famous Romanian dances. Growing up in Damascus, I remember I was maybe 10 when my parents gave me the score. They got it for, during one of their travels, they got me the score. And I played these pieces and I fell immediately in love with what they were, but also they opened a window for me to somebody else's life and culture. And how lucky I was that I was able to experience Bartok's world through these pieces. And I thought maybe I should try to do the same, of trying to bring these very rich melodies that, of course, are very well known in Syria, but they're not limited to Syria. There's always a spillover in neighboring countries, obviously. So I chose 4 of them, and they're gonna play for them. This is only for string orchestra. And they represent different parts of the country. The first one is called the Skaba, which is actually commonly known in Damascus. Then second one is Shobho, which is a prayer that is usually recited in Aramaic. And that comes from Al-Hasaka, which is northeast part of the country. The third movement is Al-Burdana, which is from Deir ez-Zor, another city from the northeast. And we finish by a very old and traditional Dabke, which is like a circular dance that is found in the south of the country. To be more specific, it's from Daraa and the region around Daraa. So this is it. It's a snippet of home for you. I hope you enjoy. This is Syrian Dances.
you all. Here we go. We're not very good with mics or amplification. Thank you for being here. We're so happy to be back in Boston. It's such a pleasure. We're just ending our 9th year, so we're going to start 10 years in July, and we couldn't ask for better collaborators and composers to work on us with this beautiful music. And I would just like to say, if you want to take some of us home with you, you can visit Roland in the lobby after. We have some albums that we've recorded, and also Kinan and Brian have some music as well that you can pick up. And you can join our mailing list and hear about next times we'll be in Boston. We have a residency at the Longy School of Music, so we're there a few times each year and perform around town. So keep us in mind when you're thinking about artistic events. And I'm going to introduce Brian Adler to the stage. He is an incredible drummer and percussionist, world percussionist, teacher, composer, who just recently moved from New York to Portland. So we're so lucky to have him in Portland, and we met him, as Brianna said, with Kinan a few years back. So he's written us, or arranged for us, this incredible piece, and I'd like to welcome him to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody feeling? Good. Excellent. My name is Brian Adler. I'm a drummer, a percussionist, a composer. I was born and raised in New York, but not the New York with the skyscrapers and the subways. I was born in an ashram, upstate New York. It's like a Hindu commune. And you may be imagining a bunch of hippies dancing around a fire pit nude. It wasn't exactly that, but that did happen sometimes. This ashram was a utopian environment in many ways. People would gather from around the world to be in silence, to reflect inwards, and to connect to a higher source. There was a structured schedule, and I remember part of my education was sitting with Brahmin priests around a fire, learning a very precise recitation of the epic Vedic chant called the Sri Rudram. You can all relate, right? Like many kids, when it was time for this activity, I rolled my eyes. I would have much rather have been playing with Legos, and yet I was also very entranced, staring in this fire pit. And I was entranced by the hypnotic nature of the chant itself. And little did I know that this was the beginning of my musical path, and where I would soon be gifted a drum, and later off go to conservatory in this city, and then move to the other New York, and then soon travel the world as a sort of ambassador of rhythm, helping people to connect through rhythm. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because the piece we're about to play is based on my memory of this experience as a child staring into this fire pit and learning this chant. For so many of us, our childhoods provide an imprint for who we are. And for so many of us, there are parts of our childhood that we want to step away from. This piece holds the duality of both, and I hope when you hear it, you can imagine both the child staring into the fire, as well as a departure into a more complex world. Enjoy.
All right. Brian, that was amazing.
Means a lot coming from you.
We're going to play one more piece for you. But this piece in 3 sections, and every section has a story. So you'll have to bear with me because I'm going to tell you every story of every piece before we play it. You know, sometimes pieces are inspired by situations, and the first time I remember telling the story of one of the pieces, I realized that the story and the piece are bound together forever. Like me delivering the story is becoming part of the composition almost. The name of the piece is Suite for Improviser and Orchestra. And the first movement is titled Love on 139th Street in D. And the reason for the very specific title is I lived in Harlem when I moved to New York back in 2001. I lived in Harlem in a neighborhood that is very, very similar to Damascus in a way. It's very loud. Everybody's playing dominoes outside. In Damascus, they play cards. There it's like dominoes, and it seems like everybody was one family. Like people shout from from window to window across the street. It was very loud, very lively, great food, great people. One minor issue is we had the first floor neighbor used to blast merengue and reggaeton music 24/7. So we'll go to sleep, we'll go to work, we rehearse at home. All of this accompanied by and the interesting thing is we never met this person, you know. So this piece is one time I was trying to write a piece inspired by Damascus, and then his music crept into this composition. So what you have now is a love letter to this neighbor that I never met. If you are in this room and you lived on 139th Street and Broadway between the years of 2001 and 2005 on the first floor, talk to me afterwards. We need to have a word. I would love to meet you. And yeah, so here it is. I hope you enjoy Love on 139th Street in D. movement number 2, story number 2. A few years go by, and I've been living now in New York for maybe 5 or 6 years, and I get invited to my first Thanksgiving dinner. And I didn't know what that was, you know, but then, of course, I accepted the invitation, and I went, and I stayed with this wonderful family somewhere in Delaware, and we stayed in a hotel right outside DC. It's one of these hotels where there's the hotel, there's the highway, and in the distance there's a shopping mall. So without a car, you're stuck. Like, there's nothing you can do. You cannot, you know, cross the highway, like by foot. The dinner was incredible. Was absolutely wonderful. The food was amazing. We overdrank and overate, like people do on this occasion. And it was the first time that I felt at home away from Damascus, my original home. And those of you who have relocated at some point of your life, you might relate to this. I think part of us like wonders, is that okay to feel at home somewhere else? You know, am I betraying my original home if I feel at home elsewhere? And these are the thoughts that came to my mind, having such a wonderful time. So it was a combination of feeling great, but also feeling bad for feeling great. And anyway, we go back to the hotel, and the next morning, they asked me if I wanted to join them for Black Friday. And also, I didn't know what that was. I thought it was a restaurant. So I told them, no, you guys go ahead, enjoy. I'm just going to be at home. So they left me, and I was stuck in this hotel that I mentioned earlier. And I was trying to process this notion of home and what that means. And what is it that I'm missing from home? And what is it, how can I combine both? And I think what I missed was the sound of home the most. So this piece you're gonna hear is inspired by the sound of a marketplace that used to exist behind my parents' place back in Damascus. It had a steady pulse to it. Street vendors usually have some kind of songs, you know, about cucumbers, about tomatoes, and all of this is an incredible mosaic of sound over a steady pulse of life, in a way, if you want. So this piece tries to represent that. And the title of it is November 22. Last thought before we play it, it's funny because, you know, we think we're abandoning one home if you think of home in another place. And I think actually the more you feel at home in a variety of places, the richer life you lead. So now I feel at home everywhere I eat, basically. So, so here it is, November 20th. I hope you enjoy. So this is going to be the third movement and the last piece on this program. But before we do so, I would like to thank every single one of you for being here. It's great to see all of you. And I want to say also a huge thank you from the heart to all of you. Palaver String, thank you very, very much for having me. And Brian, thanks to Brian Adler, please. And of course, WBUR for having us in this wonderful space. The last piece, the last movement of the suite is titled Wedding. And it's inspired by, again, home is all over this program, I guess. Inspired by the mood and the spirit one can find in a Syrian village wedding. I'm sure it's not only specific to Syria. Village weddings are by far better than city weddings. Because usually, you don't invite anybody. People just show up. The family of the marrying couple usually cook for everybody, which I think explains why everybody shows up too. And among people who come to these parties are the musicians. And they come without, you cannot submit a playlist to the musicians. Like, they will not even read it, They show up, they bring whatever instruments they have at home, and they play whatever they like. And the music changes depending on their mood, and of course, how many drinks they have over the course of the evening. So the music gets loud, it's very much unpredictable, and long. We're gonna be playing loud, but we're not gonna be too long, so you don't have to worry about that part. And this is one of the pieces that did change meaning for me over the years. I wrote this back in 2007, and every time I play this since 2011, and you all know Syria's recent history, I'm reminded of how incredible that in spite of atrocities, people still manage to simply fall in love. I think it's a very simple act of courage and resilience. And so every time I play it, I think of, wow, whether people get married or not, it's none of our business, obviously, but it continues to be an inspiring thing for me to see. So this piece is inspired by love, and it's dedicated to all people who fell in love in times of atrocities, which is, continuing in our planet on every day. But also, every day there are people who are falling in love. And it seems to be a good reminder for all of us that falling in love is one of the very few human rights that no authority can stop or take away. So this is from all of us collectively to all of them, and maybe some of them are you here in the audience. This is to all of us. Thank you very much. This is Wedding.
Will you come back next year? Coffee and cookies out in the lobby. Our next Sound Down is May 12th, a week from this Friday. Lee Zangari, a folk singer, one of an up-and-coming musicians in Massachusetts. Check it out. But they'll be out in the lobby, and you can meet them all. Thank you.